Good morning and welcome to Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lake County. I'm delighted to see you all here this fine spring morning, whether you're here in Florida or elsewhere and joining us. I'm Janine Reagan and I will be your service leader today. We welcome back our songwriter, singer, and favorite storyteller, David Roth, who will provide our service for us this morning. Just a little tech tip. We have two viewing options for this service: speaker view which highlights the person speaking, and gallery view, which shows you everyone who is on the link. You will find the options in the word view somewhere on the outer edge of your screen, most often in the upper right-hand corner. Thank you for joining us this morning. I will begin with a few announcements. Our service is being recorded except for joys and concerns and the discussion period after the service. You will find this service and several other earlier services on our YouTube channel, UUCLC Office, which you can access that from the weekly bulletin or from the website lakecountyuu.net. The chat box on Zoom is open. You may take some time at this point early in the service to enter a joy or concern, which may be, I'm sorry, I've lost my place on my thing, which may be too tender to speak aloud and which will be read during that part of the service. You may also enter a donation into the funding link, which is also on the chat box. Does anyone else have an announcement? If so, please wave your hand and someone will call on you. No announcements today?
Steve has one, I believe.
Steve? Unmute.
I don't know if this is a joy or a concern, but it's been a year since we closed up our church over at Eustis there. I don't know whenever we'll be back. We'll see, but it's been a year now.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, thank you, everyone. This morning, David Roth will present our opening words using one of his wonderful songs.
Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be here with you. I'm going to open the service with the words of an inspiration to me, a man some of you may have heard of named Woody Guthrie, who said, "You are a songbird right this minute. Today you're a better songbird than you was yesterday, 'cause you know a little bit more, you've seen a little bit more, and all you got to do is just park yourself under a shade tree or maybe at a desk, if you still got a desk," that's still him talking, "and haul off and write down some way you think this old world could be fixed so's it would be twice as level and half as steep."
Welcome to all. If you are a first-time visitor or perhaps returning after an absence, if you are comfortable doing so, I invite you to wave your hand at the camera so all can see, and a member of our tech team will call on you, and then you may unmute, introduce yourself, and tell us what brought you here today. Any visitors?
Tom Batter.
Hi, my name's Tom Batter. I'm in Washington State on an island, Orcas Island. My wife is here, and we've been friends and followers of David for many years, and decided to attend the service. Thanks.
Welcome.
Robin Day has her hand up. Good morning, everybody. I'm new to Eustis. I moved down during the pandemic, so I will just joining to look and see. Thank you.
Oh, welcome.
Kristen
Good
Hughes.
morning, everybody. I'm back after a long absence, and I appreciate all of the technical folks stepping in and helping out for the services for I think it was 11 weeks that I was out. I'm back home and doing really, really well. I'm walking and back behind the screen doing the technical work for the service today. So it's great to see everybody, and it's good to be back home.
We welcome our visitors, and we're happy to see Kristen back with us. If you're interested in receiving our monthly newsletter or our weekly bulletin, or having someone in our membership committee contact you, or learning more about Unitarian Universalism or our community here at UUCLC, please send us an email at office@lakecountyuu.net, or leave your email in the chat so that we can contact you. The light of the sun does not lift the shadows that have fallen on humanity the world over. We relight our chalice flame to reignite a spirit of radical optimism, knowing it takes us all living what matters to dispel those who would divide us. All matter of things will be well if we make them well. May our free religious communities embody the right relationships that our world so desperately needs.
If you're lucky enough to be sharing your Zoom room with somebody else, you could look at them right now and say, I can't wait to hear you sing with David. But if you're by yourself, you can sing at the top of your lungs, because on Zoom we can mute ourselves, and I'll do the heavy lifting here. I invite you to sing along. It's a very easy song. Goes like this. I am here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all. I am here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all. Try that with me. Here we go. I am here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all. I am here for the greater good of all, greater good of all. You are here. You are here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all. You are here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all. We are here. We are here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all. We are here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all. Now you sing one. Here we go. I am here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all. I am here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all.
Each Sunday, we make time for those who wish to offer a joy, a concern, or a sorrow, or set an intention for the coming days. This portion of our service will not be recorded.
I invite you now to get even more comfortable than some of you already look. And we'll enter a period of meditation. It's going to be a musical meditation. And it's got a very short and easily learned line. It goes like this. I will surrender. I will let go. And when I'm ready, I will know. That's it. Sing with me. I will surrender. I will let go, and when I'm ready, I will know. I will surrender, I will let go, and when I'm ready, I will know. I will surrender, I will let go, and when I'm ready, I will know. I will surrender, I will let go, and when I'm ready, I will know.
Please join me in reaffirming who we are by reciting together our congregational covenant found on the screen. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. It is our practice to give generously to our church as we are able, and keeping in mind both its meaning in our lives and its impact in the world. We are thankful to all who provide financial support for UUCLC in order to continue our virtual services and to keep our beautiful building protected and ready for our eventual return, which we hope will be soon. We ask for whatever financial support you can provide. There are multiple ways to do this, and they are found on the slide on your screen, in the Sunday service bulletin, and in our UUCLC website. And as Kristen said, it's pretty easy to do it today. Just try out that new toy that he talked about. You can also donate from the link in the chat, and that's where you can do it. You can donate from the link in the chat box today. Thank you for your donations.
Plans fly out the window, agenda's broken down. There's nothing else to do right now but stop and look around. People frozen in their tracks are dealing with the same. And now is not the time or place to find someone to blame. When the universe is ready, so am I. When the universe is ready, so am I. The mighty sands are shifting by and by. When the universe is ready, so am I. We've bottled up our oceans, we have fouled up all the air. For the poison of our progress, we are fully unprepared. For the consequence of actions, for these outcomes we've brought forth, it is time to pay attention to the wisdom of the earth. When the universe is ready, so am I. When the universe is ready, so am I. The mighty sands are shifting by and by. When the universe is ready, so am I. Behold a new beginning, a vision like a star. Mother Earth self-regulates when we have gone too far. I'm looking out my window, I see my neighbor wave. We're singing from this distance, and we're closer to the day, and closer to the moment when we have our sweet embrace. And what a blessing it will be to meet you in that place. When the universe is ready, so am I. When the universe is ready, so am I. The mighty sands are shifting by and by. When the universe is ready, so am I. And good morning again. Thanks again to Kristen and the whole crew for such great technical support and for the preparation for our time together. My talk this morning, as you may have gleaned, is a sermon in song or message with music or whatever you like to call it, is called One World, Many Concerns. And we joked a little bit earlier this week, that's a wide brushstroke, but it's true. There's so much to talk, so much to sing, and so much to write about. I think I'll just get right into it, and we'll scratch the surface this morning. We'll just scratch the surface. If anybody tells you there's no politics in guns, and that now is not the time to change the laws, just meet the gaze of those who've lost family or friends, and tell me how we justify the cause. It's well and good to send out loving thoughts and loving prayers, but by now these thoughts and prayers are not enough. All the good intentions and the cries to make a change must be followed up with action and rebuff. So change the laws, change the laws, change the contract, change the clause, change the mind and change the cause. Change the laws, change the laws. If politicians say do not politicize these things or get caught up in the moment or in haste, I say it's precisely what we need to talk about before another single life is wasted. So change the laws, change the laws, change the contract, change the clause, change the mind and change the cause. Change the laws, change the laws. I will not be silenced, though the silencers abound. I will not be led by those opposed to common ground. If anybody tells you there's no politics and guns, they're the ones who know that money runs the show. And as long as nothing changes, they'll be happy and content, and they'll do their best to keep the status quo. So change the laws, change the laws, change the contract, change the clause, change the mind and change the cause. Change the laws, change the laws, change the mind and change the cause. Change the laws, change the laws. And when I think about change, there's so many things that I'm ready for change to happen with. And sometimes ordinary people do extraordinary things. To not talk about it or sing about it or discuss things, but to show an example by their human experience, just by their example. And not even for the purpose of being an example, but for the purpose of being present and dealing with their circumstances. Benjamin Franklin said, "Well done is better than well said." And Mark Twain said that actions speak louder than words, but not nearly as often. Well, here's an amazing action that took place in this true story. Ahmed had a plastic gun, a toy, that's all it was. He got it from his uncle one December just because. The older boys were rebels and he liked to play along. And one day he'd grow up to be as big and brave and strong. Israeli soldiers often searched the Jenin camps and towns. They were looking for insurgents, they were always cracking down. The residents resented these intrusions on their homes. The rebels fired rifles, the younger boys threw stones. One Thursday came another clash between these warring groups. Again the bullets, stones and rocks, the rebels and the troops. A soldier saw a gunman and he fired at a boy. The victim was a 12-year-old, his weapon was a toy. Ahmed al-Khatib was taken off to Ramallah, but his wounds were such that he was transferred out to Israel, a hospital in Haifa where the Jewish doctors did every single thing they could to help this child live. Despite their greatest efforts, Ahmed passed away. A family's worst nightmare turned reality that day. And that's when they had every reason to exact revenge, to carry out this history of this hatred between men. They could have shouted out in anger, outrage, grief, and pain. They could have caused a riot against the Jews who killed their son. What would they do to face this darkest hour of their lives? They donated all his organs so that others might survive. A liver for a baby, 2 kidneys for a child, 1 lung each, a girl and boy, ages 4 and 5. A woman in her 50s got the second chance she'd need. A 12-year-old received the heart of Ahmed al-Khatib. And some were Palestinians, and some of them were Jews. The family's intention was that no one be refused. The neighbors asked the father about this decision he had reached. A heart that can forgive will bring us closer to peace. A powerful reminder to those who might forget the humanity of those who live on the other side of the fence. And somewhere in this world today, 6 people live and breathe the legacy of those who cherished Ahmed al-Khatib. Amazing story to me, in the most extreme of circumstances one could imagine. Jane Goodall said, "Change happens by listening and then starting a dialogue with the people who are doing something you don't believe is right." I love that. Well, I want to highlight some really good things that some people in this world did too. And this story came to my attention probably on the internet, and I vetted it as best as I could, and I found out that it was true, and I love it. Talk about taking action to make things better. And it all began with a concerned person. If any of you are from Michigan or the Midwest like I am, I'm from Illinois, Chicago. This took place in Michigan, and I got to play in the town where this took place a little over a year ago before things shut down, and proudly sing this song at world headquarters of a rather large corporation that many of you have heard of. But let's get right into this song. It's got a lot of numbers, so I'm on the West Coast today. I think someone was remarking that this didn't look like my normal setup, the gal who had been to some of my online concerts. Well, I'm here at my mom's house, my mom Gloria. She's in the background there reading the paper, 95, and she needs a little extra help right now. So I'm here for a couple weeks before my sister comes back, and we're taking care of Gloria, a former professional big band singer in my hometown of Chicago. So there she is reading the paper, and here I am singing to you. All right, here goes something. Did I tell you this is a true story? Yes. Michael and Marion met on a blind date and married within a few months. They had an idea for a place where a family could go out for dinner or lunch. Garden City, Michigan, that's where they started, expanding in 3 years to Warren. And business was booming, their pizza was doing so well that their profits were soaring. That's your part. So well that their profits were soaring. Then a shop in Detroit, and 2 years after that they had 50 franchises all over. With 7 young children along for the ride, somehow Michael maintained his composure. He bought the pro hockey team, and then bought the Tigers, and did something else on the side. Back then Michael was generous, he loved giving back to his city and neighbors with pride. Hail Little Caesars, hail Little Caesars, Mike gave away lots of his dough. With money for hungry folks, kids, and for veterans, it was much more than pizza, you know. Much more than pizza, you know. Today there are more than 5,000 Little Caesars in 25 countries worldwide. And if you want pizza in Fargo, North Dakota, there's a store with a sign hanging outside. The manager noticed a person in torn clothes was digging for scraps in the trash. And here are the words to the sign that she posted. It had nothing to do with the cash. Nothing to do with the cash. Here it is. Friend, if you're hungry and you need some food, please come in for some pizza and water. There's no charge at all, and we won't ask you questions. Doors open, we're happy to offer. So hail North Dakota, hail North Dakota. I hope Little Caesars takes note, and that all of their franchises have such a heart, 'cause we're all riding in the same boat. And if there's anyone there to promote, the people in North Dakota get my vote. Isn't that a cool story? I love that. Well, I'd like to play one more to wrap up this sermon and song. I hope you get the idea. One world, many concerns. Like I said, this is a surface scratching foray into a very wide, wild, and complicated world. But I want to bring it down to something a little more personal now. A friend of mine told me this great story about going back to see one of her old teachers. And in my moments of doubt, of self-doubt, and I wonder if anything I'm doing makes any sense to anybody or makes one tiny little bit of difference in this world, in my moments of self-doubt, I remember that a pebble tossed into a pond can sink to the bottom, but it can also create a tidal wave of goodness. So this song, based on my friend's story of visiting an old teacher, and soon thereafter I ran into my high school music teacher, and his energy contributed to this as well, starts with a melody from Peter, Paul, and Mary, one of my favorite inspirations, along with Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger and Odetta and Josh White and Josh White Jr. and Simon and Garfunkel, Gordon Lightfoot, Jackson Brown, Joni Mitchell, Joan Baez, Phil Oakes, Steve Goodman, John Prine, etc. That's a whole nother time. But here, see if you could recognize this melody, and then off we go. It goes like this. And thank you for your kind attention this morning. Can't wait to come back in person. The first time that I heard that song was a time I well remember. It all goes back some 30 years to Mr. Ryan's classroom. One day he brought his old guitar and he sang his favorite songs for us. And the single one that I remember most was All My Trials. Something in his simple singing, it touched my very sixth grade soul. The harmonies he taught us are the ones that I still know today. The verse about the tree of life was wondrous to a 12-year-old. Many times these 30-plus years I've wished that I could say, thank you for the music, Mr. Ryan. The simple gift you gave that day is one I've treasured dearly. I'll always see you sitting up there singing all my trials. You'll never know how much it's meant to me. You'll never know how much it's meant to me. I went home to see my folks in June, the town that I grew up in. 3 of us were sitting in the kitchen having coffee. And I mentioned Mr. Ryan, how I wondered what became of him. Mother said she'd heard that he's still working at my school. I grabbed my coat and ran outside, retracing old familiar routes. The shortcut through the playground and the echo of that hallway. And there he was in room 11, wiping off the blackboard. I took a breath and cleared my throat and stepped back into time. Thank you for the music, Mr. Ryan. The simple gift you gave that day is one I've treasured dearly. I'll always see you sitting up there, singing all my trials. You'll never know how much it has meant to me. You'll never know how much it's meant to me. So we sat and talked for quite a while. I don't think that he remembered me, but I told him of my work and where I've been and what I've done. And finally he leaned back and said, "It's amazing that you've come today. Just last night my mother and I were talking until 1. She asked me, was I happy? I said, yes, I love my teaching. But I'm sad I never married, that I never fathered children." "Oh yes," she said, "oh yes, my son, you have fathered several hundred. And now I look across my cluttered desk, and here you've come. So thank you for the visit, my dear child. The simple gift you gave today is one I will treasure dearly. I'll always see you sitting up here, filling in these 30 years. You'll never know how much it has meant to me. You'll never know how much it's meant to me. And our closing words this morning, I think we're doing really good on time, aren't we? Our closing words this morning come from my friend Bernie Greenberg. Yes, they do. And he talks about change in his beautiful book called Good Enough. I'm going to read 2 or 3 of his short poems about this idea of change. And for me, one world of many concerns. The concerns for me are addressed by change, and not just thoughts and prayers, but the third part of that trinity is taking action to bring change about. So here's what Bernie says about change. Go and figure it out. It happened again. Change, of course. It came out of left field, but I was better prepared. I didn't make any assumptions, and I didn't take it personally. Didn't feel defeated, so I didn't get mad. I'm getting better at the change game. Good thing, because it will happen again. I think that's brilliant. Let's read a couple more. They're short, but so powerful. When I get better at something, it brings on change. One change leads to another. Sometimes they are big deals. Other times they aren't. I don't like having to wait for a random event. I don't have to be a victim. I can make change. And lastly, I just love these. I could read them all day. In fact, I have been. Change comes, settles in, and stays around until you change. And then it gets replaced by another change. Thank you, Bernie. It's wonderful to see you there. And thank you all again for your kind attention. I turn it back over to Janine for the extinguishing of the chalice.
And I think I'll let Bernie extinguish our chalice.
We have a celebrity in our midst.
Oh, yay.
A lot of hot air.
Well, I know about hot air too. Are there any words that go along with extinguishing the chalice, Janine or Bernie?
Not today. We're just
Okay,
ready
fine.
to listen to your closing hymn.
Can I
Oh,
ask for encore?
Oh no, yeah, we're not quite wrapped up yet. We have one more hymn to go, but let me read a couple more quotes leading into this hymn since we have just a little bit of extra time. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word." I stand for love, stand for peace, I stand for joy and for release, for what is beautiful and true. I stand for hope, I stand for you. I stand for love, I stand for peace, I stand for joy and for release, for what is beautiful and true. I stand for hope, I stand for you. You know our world is in great pain, she needs our loving care again. But there are those who fail to see what we have done and what we need. There is a cost for every act, and now there is no turning back. We burn a bridge, we bang a drum. It's time to rise, the time has come to stand for love, to stand for peace, to stand for joy and for release, for what is beautiful and true, to stand for hope, to stand for you. And if you're thinking it's not urgent, that we've got more time to kill, if I am not the one who will change things, then for heaven's sake, who will? So I will move, I will climb this mountain one step at a time. I won't be swayed, I will not stop until we've made it to the top, where we will stand for love and peace, we'll stand for joy and for release, for what is beautiful and true. We'll stand for hope, we'll stand for you, for what is beautiful and true. I stand for hope, I stand for you.
Thank you, David, for your wonderful words and your beautiful music. And David will be joining us today during our discussion, which we now turn over to Diana Reed, and we hope you can stay for our discussion time. And that will not be recorded, so please join us.